There's been a lot of debate about breakfast. It's the most important meal of the day, it's not as important as we thought, eggs are bad for you, eggs are good for you, it's the most analyzed, discussed, and delicious meal. There is, however, no debate about brunch. Brunch is awesome. For a while, we were told by various spokes animals that cereals are part of a complete breakfast. But what exactly is a complete breakfast? As you might guess, it all comes down to chemistry. This is usually what would appear when the spokes animals would mention a complete breakfast. But get this image out of your head. Scientifically, this is not a good breakfast. There are two types of foods that are best for you in the morning from a nutrition perspective: carbs and proteins. Carbohydrates are the starches and sugars you eat in the forms of grains, fruits, and vegetables. Once ingested, carbs break down into glucose and other simple sugars, which are the body's key source of energy. Your brain is the biggest glucose hog of all. It consumes about 120 grams of glucose daily, which is 60% of your daily glucose usage. And yes, thinking hard does use more glucose. Now, there are two types of carbohydrates, complex and simple. It takes your body longer to break down complex carbs than it does simple ones, giving your brain a longer, more even release of glucose. Simple carbs act more like a quick burst of energy. To prevent your glucose from dropping off halfway through the morning and making you hangry, you should eat fruits, veggies, yogurt, and whole grains. And yes, hangry is scientifically a thing. When your body is low in glucose, your brain suffers and makes you grumpy and irritable. The second thing you should eat in the morning for a complete breakfast are proteins. They regulate appetite throughout the day. Your digestive system breaks down proteins into peptides. One of these peptides sends signals to your brain to curb your appetite. Eating proteins also releases more dopamine, the chemical associated with the brain's reward center. Once the dopamine is released, your reward center is pinged, telling you you're full, which reduces overeating and cravings later in the day. So, carbs and proteins are what make a complete breakfast, which is why cereal companies say part of a complete breakfast, since they have the carbs covered. But you have to be careful when reaching for those sugary cereals or pouring a glass of orange juice. If you eat something with a large amount of sugar in it, your pancreas releases insulin. This release of insulin signals your cells to grab a hold of the glucose in your bloodstream and store it as fuel to be used later. So some of the carbohydrates and the sugar you just consumed get stored in fat or muscle cells instead of being used as fuel, which leads to fat accumulation. Now, for those of you who are wondering about eggs for breakfast, well, I have good news for you. Eggs are actually really good for you. They're a great source of high-quality protein, contain every single B vitamin, and are a good source of vitamin D. By the way, for those of you milk lovers out there, the pitch for milk in the morning is weak, and to be honest, you can find your calcium in many other food sources, like nuts and greens. So there you have it. Be sure to eat your carbs and protein in the morning, and don't forget the fiber, which you can get from beans, oats, fruits, and veggies. Watch out for too much saturated fat, and avoid trans fats altogether. Other fats, like heart-healthy omega-3s and monosaturated fats, like the ones in olive oil, are good for you. Like with all things, moderation is key. A lot of you guys already are eating a complete breakfast. Some examples of a good breakfast are oatmeal with fruit, whole wheat toast and eggs, or whole wheat pancakes with some kind of lean protein. Or you could be like me and break those social constructs of breakfast. I had a spinach salad with a hard-boiled egg this morning. Yogurt is actually the perfect breakfast food since it has both carbs and protein, with Greek yogurt being especially high in protein.